Welcome to Culmination, where we're not experts, but we sure have a lot to say. In the process of becoming our best self, I have with me the aspiring environmentalist, Jacob Matson, to discuss good deeds and contributions to society. And with that said, let's get started. So, Jacob, how would you define good deeds?
Well, I would define good deeds as doing something good or nice for someone with no intention of getting anything else from it, like a reward.
So, what do you mean? What do you mean by that exactly?
Like if you were to help, like let's say, like help your brother clean their room, you wouldn't expect to like get something out of it, like food. Like you would just help them because you wanted to.
Right. And why do you think there's a distinction there between wanting something out of it or having an incentive versus just doing it based off the heart?
Well, if you were to do it for a reward, then you might not like do that because you're a good person necessarily. You just want to get something out of it. But if you do it because you want to help them, then that's good for the heart.
Right. And do you think that's just better for everybody?
I think that makes a distinction, yes. Showing that someone's a better person because they want to help people.
Right. So do you think it's necessarily wrong if you wanted something out of it?
No, I wouldn't say that.
Why not?
Well, I would say it wouldn't be bad to want an incentive because, of course, when you do things, you might want to like get something out of it. Because if you like help someone for like 3 hours at something, you might be like, "Hey, I helped you out. Can you like do a favor for me or something?" Like it's okay if because they might feel bad also. The person that had you help them, they'll be like, "Hey, I owe you one."
Right. Although that might be different just because you might not expect them to say that and they might just do that on their own validity and everything. But so there was this moment at work one Sunday morning. No, it was actually like a Saturday night, just because it was a lot busier and a lot more customers were coming into the restaurant because I work at a restaurant. Um, and I was, talking to some of my friends, and then one of my other friends came in and joined our little conversation in between, like waiting because he was a server, and he posed a question to us saying, he first told us, "Wow, this family gave me a really big tip because I was really nice to them." And I tried being nice to them, but secretly I was doing it just because I wanted to try to get a bigger tip. But then he asked us kind of like a moral dilemma of am I bad because my intentions were for a reward, or was it good because I made the family happy from basically acting? What do you think of that?
I say that it's good that your friend is driven to be nicer to someone to
Mhm.
people that they don't know for a reward because there would definitely be many people that would just wouldn't be nicer because they're just tired or being at work all day. But having someone actually like go through the whole day smiling and being nice to someone is definitely a good show of character.
Right, even if they're acting?
Yeah,
Why would you say so? Just curious.
because it probably takes a lot out of them to like act like that all day, and it shows that deep down they are nicer people.
Okay, I would agree with that, yeah. Um, and work is kind of interesting itself because, I mean, most people work because they just want money, like that is the incentive to work. Like if we didn't have to work, if we didn't have bills to pay, then basically why bother?
Yeah, it's like you're already there. Why put in extra effort? But the extra effort you're putting in shows that you really do care.
Right, exactly. And I mean, of course, disclaimer, some people want to enter a certain field for a passion. Like, for instance, if you make more money on average being a doctor, but you want to go to art school or something in hopes of being an artist, even though you might not secure a job as easily, or if you do, it's not as much pay. It's like, if you just weigh the payments, it's like, why would you ever choose being a painter? But it's obvious because you have a passion for it, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know, that's definitely a distinction. But I guess back to here, it's like he was already working. He already gets paid. I believe it's like $4 like hourly. Because it's like, as a server you get tips, so you don't necessarily need to make minimum. It's kind of like a fallback payment, I guess. But you know, he was expecting to get paid anyway. And you know, I guess you could kind of view it as sleazy if your intentions are, oh, I'm going to be nice to this person because like I want something out of it. And I guess if you always apply that way of thinking in your regular everyday life, it might not be as good. Like, especially when you're in a circumstance that you're not getting paid hourly on the clock or on a salary. But, you know, at the same time, your actions are essentially what's being evaluated there. The customers don't know that that's your incentive. They don't need to know that that's your incentive because in the end, you know, he took the extra effort, like you said, to like talk with their kid. Like, what server who's a teenager who doesn't want to be working and it's like 8 o'clock and they'd rather be home watching TV? What teenager wants to talk to like an 8-year-old boy and his family at a restaurant? Like, who would want to do that, you know?
Yeah, I don't know.
But I mean, just, I guess, putting in the effort, it really, I guess you're kind of right on that regard. It kind of shows an emphasis on character.
Yeah, and like what your actions can change your mindset. So if you keep being nice to people like that, then that could change, like you just do that naturally anyways. So you're not even trying to be nice anymore.
Right. That's a really great point. Do you have any personal examples of that at work? Or like that at play, not at your job?
Well, it's like when I'm talking to my professor at school, I'm talking to him in class, like at first I'm just trying to like talk to him so he can like me and then I get to know someone, but then I keep talking to him like and I get to know him. It's like at first I want him to like grade easier on my assignments. If he gets to know me, he's like, I'll give off like a point there, but then you start to actually get to know him and you're like, hey, he's pretty cool. I want to talk to him more.
Right. That's a really good point because it's like your incentive was to get like easier, or have him be easier on you. And it's just easier to know your teacher, but ultimately you ended up liking him for him, right?
Yeah.
Right. Why do you think that happens? Like, how does that happen?
Well, I think that at first everyone wants to get something out of something, so they want to do something just to get something out of it. But as they keep working to get something out of it, they start to learn they actually like doing that just naturally anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll keep doing that action just normally as if that's just their normal routine and it makes them a better person.
Right. And I guess it can also just reinforce their behavior to continue doing new things and evolving. So, what all good deeds can you think of that we can apply to ourselves?
Well, there's plenty of simple ones they can apply. Like if you see someone like just on the side of like the like road, like if you're in a grocery store and you see someone like struggling with groceries, you just go help them like pick everything back up if they drop something.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're in school and you see someone like drop their books, you help them pick them up.
Right. But I mean, you don't really gain anything from that, do you?
No, but you could make new connections if you start talking to them. You can meet new people. But other than that, no, you just get out of the satisfaction of helping someone.
That's true. Like, just doing something can be its own reward. So anyway, these are like simple good deeds that you can kind of do on an interpersonal level, like being nice to somebody, or like with a gesture, or just the words you use towards them, or helping out somebody in need when they drop their books, or when they're sick, or like, for instance, if they have crutches and you need to hold their stuff for them. And these are all good deeds, but I would like to transition here into a next segment, if you will. Before recording, Jacob and I were talking about the environment, as that's something that he's very interested in, and he's not exactly sure what he wants to do yet, but that's like, I guess, the biggest idea. Am I correct?
Yeah, it's like the big like umbrella of ideas I have is within that environment.
Right. So do you want to just get into that and how good deeds and our own efforts can help the environment?
Yeah, like there's many ways on a personal level that you can try to help the environment without doing something crazy. Like if you go to a restaurant and you have a choice between getting a straw or not getting a straw, you could not get a straw, and that would help reduce plastic waste.
Right. And do you want to just keep going on different things?
Sure, like if you like going outside and going for walks, you could just go on a walk around a park and just look around and see there's litter, like trash or cans, and you can pick them up and dispose of them on your own.
Right.
You don't have to have any other, like, you don't have to have a specific reason to do so. You can just do it out of enjoyment.
Right. But Jacob, if I may ask you, there's so many issues with pollution and everything out there. Like, there's, if you, I remember looking at, I forgot what it was, but it was like a map of the world, and it had all these countries, or like, it was just a map, and there were basically these numbers on each country in different areas, with different colors, and the colors represented like much pollution versus no pollution. So obviously, as an individual, you can't fix these huge issues of pollution or the plastic in the oceans. So what can you do as an individual?
Well, there are many choices. Like if we're talking about pollution, like if we talk about air pollution for a moment, like if you want to help reduce your air pollution level on your own personal level, you can like carpool with someone, like if you carpool to work or to school, so then you reduce like the number of vehicles driving. That can help reduce air pollution.
So yeah, if all these things are so above us and out of our control, like what's the point? Why would me going to the park right now, picking up somebody's Dunkin' Donuts cup and putting it in the waste, how would that do anything? It wouldn't solve the world's problems.
Well, sure, on the large scale, you're not fixing the environment in any way, but these little changes, these little differences do matter. These picking up trash and carpooling, taking these actions can help lead other people to change their mindsets as well if they see you doing it. So then you can get more and more people jump on the bandwagon, and by doing so, they could make some real change.
You think so?
If it gets as widespread enough, yeah, I think so.
How can we get others to be inspired to do so?
You can like talk to your friends. Like you don't have to go like preach on some like social media account, but if you go just talk to your friends and family and just tell them, hey, I'm reducing plastic waste by not getting straws, then they could also be like, hey, that's a cool idea, it's easy and it doesn't really affect my lifestyle, so I can easily just stop using straws or just go on a walk around a park and pick up waste, and then this can spread and more people will talk and a lot of people can be doing this.
Right, and it's not like inscripting any laws to change things like on the grand scale. It's just influencing the culture to make it better.
Yeah.
I don't know, just because some people need straws, obviously, like they have medical help, like they can only eat through a straw or something. Um, and we were talking earlier, like we've heard some disturbing instances of like metal straws
Yeah.
not going well. I didn't want to say certain words because they'd be too graphic for this podcast, but you know what I mean.
But yeah, there can be some troubles with alternatives.
Right. But on average, it's like, like if you're at a restaurant, if they can just give you like a reusable cup that they can just wash, it's like why not?
Yeah, it's easy to do, and there's like really no point in not just doing so.
Right. Although unfortunately, I noticed that a lot of these masks, like the reusable ones, have become more like trash.
Yeah,
So I guess that's another instance of what we can do to kind of help though, because there's more trash now because of these masks and, just in general. And of course, as an individual, we can't exactly fix these giant world issues. But if we can clean up our community a little bit, like why not?
yeah, there's a lot of like many changes like that you can do. Like the pandemic has caused a lot of issues with waste, a large increase in that. And like just getting reusable masks and like washing them every week is an easy way to reduce like just mask waste.
Right. That's a good point too. And yeah, I don't know. You don't have to think about one of the big things with just good deeds and contributions to society in general is it's all about the mindset.
Yes.
Like picking up trash, it just sounds like community service. It literally is community service. Like when you break the law and they make you do something.
Yeah.
but if you think about it, like if you really care and are concerned about these issues, it's like, you might feel small sometimes. I don't want to undermine that fact. Like sometimes we can feel really, disheartened by the great things that are above us out of our control. But we can really feel a grasp within ourselves and our situations when we can do something ourselves. We can see what there is to do. Because believe it or not, there is a lot we can do. We can work on ourselves, our mindsets, to view things more positively. We can start being nicer to people to kind of ease the tensions, um, really tension of any kind. But it's really easy to fix just with a simple hi or a gesture. Um, we can help the earth by just kind of picking up things, um, and like being more thoughtful with your approach with things. Like if you know that you're not that hungry, don't order that much food that you're just going to waste. Um, for sure, we take some things for granted, of course, but I don't know. I guess we just have to. Though I'm the kind of guy that would, I would take too much and then I would just kind of save it for later. I guess whether that
What?
means putting it in the fridge or just eating it cold. You ever do that?
Oh yeah, well that works. You're not wasting the food that way.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's just funny to me because it's like you had this pizza 8 hours ago, and it's like midnight, and it's like, well, I still have it sitting out, so why not?
Nice and cool. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean that pizza's seen better days, but I mean it's the same thing, I guess.
Yeah, it's still good.
So yeah, now I want to ask you, what do you think is the difference between a contribution to society, like just a contribution, and a good deed? What do you think is the difference?
Well, I think a contribution to society could really be like almost anything. It doesn't even have to be something to like a lot of people. Like it could be something as easy as just going like saying, "Oh, my grandparents need help with something. Let's go help them." It doesn't have to be something very large scale that has to help benefit society.
What do you think could be an example of a large scale thing or larger?
Well, something like it's like trying to actually like inform people around your community of like recycling. It's like one big issue with recycling is that most people just don't actually know how to do it. So if you were to actually educate the public and the whole society like how to recycle and like have like companies that regulate like trash like produce and give out more like bins so people can actually recycle and compost, that can definitely help a lot for society and the environment.
Right. Um, what do you mean exactly by they don't know how to recycle?
Just there are like a lot of people in the population that typically just don't know like what goes where in recycling, or just don't even own like a recycling bin, so they just throw stuff in trash cans,
Hmm.
or just people that simply just throw trash in recycling bins also. And then what will happen is that like garbage companies will have to like just take out like a whole like part of the trash, so a lot of recycling won't even make it to like the processing center.
Right. Yeah. And then I've heard that like only 3% of what gets recycled actually gets recycled.
Yeah, it's really crazy to think about.
Yeah. I mean, because it's like you drank a bottle of Coke and then you leave some remnants of the Coke there instead of washing it out. And I mean, I know that it's like an ignorant thing technically to not think about rinsing it out, but it's not that intuitive. It's like you kind of figure, okay, if I throw the bottle in, then the person at the plant is going to clean it for me, basically. Like, isn't that their job? But what they actually do is they just see it, they see the remnants, and then they just throw it away.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it makes sense because it only gets so much like profits, so they can't exactly be too thorough, and they don't really have time in general. So they're not gonna sift through everything. They're just gonna be like, okay, there's remnants. It's not exactly adequate. We don't have time to rinse this out. So sadly, it gets thrown away. And I mean, I guess that's a thing in general with recycling. You have to pay for it, you know? Like,
Yeah.
you have to pay to get that service. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, some people would think it's selfish. Some people might think it's not selfish. I'm just going to be neutral in the whole thing in saying this because I have no reason to choose a side. But it's like, I don't know. Some people don't see the purpose in, like having those services. Like they don't want to pay for it, pay for a recycling bin because maybe they know the processes of, well, only 3% actually gets recycled, so it's not exactly worth it. Um, I don't know. It's just interesting. What do you think people can do about that?
Well, one thing that I think you've already touched on a little bit is like simply just like if you have like a empty can, you can definitely just rinse it out and put it in your recycling bin, and take your time, take that little bit extra like time to actually make sure everything's in order so it can be recycled properly. But for the most part with recycling, you can't really do much about that. That's a large scale issue of like there's gonna be a lot of recycling that won't be recycled and then they'll have to take it out. I like the point about like just picking up the cans without like any actual like purpose to do so, they're just helping the environment and doing it because we wanted to, because it felt good, the satisfaction.
Right. Do you do that personally?
What, just like pick up trash if I see it?
Yeah, just any of these good deeds that we discussed.
Yeah, I do that all the time. Like I haven't really been to like a restaurant in a while, so I haven't been able to do like the straw thing. But usually when I go to restaurants, I do like opt to not get straws, and if I see like a can on the along the road, I pick it up usually.
Yeah. What do you do with it? Do you usually like what if you're not near a trash can?
Usually I just put it in my pocket or just hold on to it until I reach my destination, and then I throw it in the recycling bin or like put it in my car and wait until I get to a place I can dispose of it properly.
Right. There's a ton of weird stuff just laying in nature. Like sometimes it's like the usual plastic bags or like leftover food remnants or something. But like I just saw a used wallet just like in the middle of a creek, like fully intact. I mean, obviously it's seen better days, but like it really makes you wonder where did this come from?
Yeah, there's just a lot of random trash you can find if you go on walks. Like if you actually look for it, you'll find some weird stuff. You'll be like, who would put that there? But yeah, it does get there.
Right. My friend, speaking of that wallet and that creek, my friend and I went on like a little expedition just for fun, like jumping across the rocks down the creek. And he lives in an apartment complex next to a Kroger. So apparently, he told me like a legend, or it's not a legend because it actually was a thing. But at the end of the creek, which was a pretty long trek, there was just a shopping cart there, which is pretty funny. But anyway, are there other kinds of good deeds or contributions you want to talk about? As we've talked about interpersonal or like a work dynamic or environment. What about to yourself, like your internal ones?
Well, it really depends on like what kind of person you are, I suppose. Like if you want to do something good for yourself, like if you do a lot of work, if you've been pushing yourself really hard, you've been doing a lot of work, you might be like, okay, I need a break. I need to do something for myself. So then like you let yourself get ice cream or something. You give yourself something for working hard. You do yourself something good.
Right. Is that a good deed or is that a reward though?
Well, so as part of it could be a reward, but if you don't have that reward like in your mind as you're doing the activity, if you do the activity first and you're like, wow, I deserve something for this.
Right, I can see that. So yeah, it's and I bet the more you treat yourself fairly in that regard, it's easier to treat others fairly, right?
Right.
Yeah. Um so yeah, I guess we could start to kind of close this off here just because we've been going for a while and it's a relatively simple topic that I don't think there's that much to dive into. Um but what do you think is the big takeaway here? What do you want to leave the viewers with?
I want to say that in the forefront of your mind, you want to just think of doing the action first and don't think of trying to get anything out of doing something. So if you want to just go out and you're like, I want to go help someone, like you can go do that. You don't think, oh, I want them to pay me for this. You want to
Mhm.
try to like, and even if you do at first, like try to like think like, what if I incorporated this into my mindset so I became a better person without wanting to get something out of it.
Right. And I guess I'll add that I like the idea that even though there's some things we can't change or can't affect in this world, we can always start from within and then start on the small scale, like, just picking up trash or saying hi to people or I don't know, just being the bigger man in certain situations. Just all these little things that we can tweak and fix that we never really think about because they're so small, so mundane, so subtle. But if we treat them like they actually matter, then I mean, I guess we can hope someday that if I start doing that and you start doing that, then people that we know can start doing that and then it can just kind of spread like that, you know?
Yeah.
until, someday we can actually affect on the big scale. I mean, no promises for sure. But also, if that's the reward, then we can't really think of the reward first, like you said. So we just have to start from what's important on our scale, I guess.
Yeah.
And also, I've noticed that, especially like for myself here, speaking for myself, it can feel really just demoralizing thinking about all these things that you can't change and can't do anything about. So I think this would be very empowering for people to just kind of think within. Think about what can I do versus what can everyone else do. Like, I feel like a lot of us think, wow, these people, insert like whatever group or, I don't know, community you're referring to. Like, why don't they get their stuff together? They should be doing this and this. And it's like, dude, you're not doing this and this. So we just have to, I don't know, think about the person you want to be, the person you want people to view you as, maybe a little bit of integrity, and just aim for it and do everything you can to reach it. And see where that goes. What do you think about that?
Oh, definitely, yes.
So yeah, I guess that's all we have to say for this episode, but thanks so much for joining me, Jacob.
Yes, thank you for inviting me, Casey.
It's been fun discussing with you. Excuse me, I gotta go pick up some trash now, but but anyway, thanks everybody for listening. This has been Good Deeds and the Contribution to Society, and I'll see you guys next time.